Energy system adaptations. There are many aerobic adaptations that will occur to the energy systems of the body in order to maximize and improve performance. For example, firstly, one adaptation that would occur after long-term aerobic training would be an increase in aerobic enzymes. This would therefore mean energy can be broken down and made faster, which would enable a person to not just overall produce more energy in a shorter time frame, but also use this energy faster by working more intensely, and as they are able to do this due to the greater amount of energy being produced due to this adaptation taking place. Another adaptation that will take place due to aerobic exercise training would be your body would adjust and be trained to use more fat stores as a fuel. This is a positive adaptation as it would provide more efficient energy to be used by the body, as burning fat will provide more energy than any other store. As well as this would also spare glycogen, which is useful as the store is needed in the body in order to produce energy successfully, and is also in a much smaller abundance in the body as opposed to fat stores. Therefore, this glycogen sparing will mean that the body is able to keep the stores of glycogen high, and this can therefore be used in later exercise. For example, this could mean for a marathon runner that towards the end of the race, when they are really struggling, they are able to produce energy using this spared glycogen, and therefore produce a good amount in order to fuel them to complete this race. This would also be similar for a footballer coming towards the end of a game. This would mean that in terms of these sports performers discussed, after this adaptation has taken place, their RER values would read more fat than carb. For example, a reading of 0.7 would be a typical reading for a performer using predominantly fat stores, as you can see up here. This is as opposed to using a mixture of carbs and fats, which would be the most likely stores used before this adaptation has taken place, meaning RER values before would most likely look around the 1.0 mark, which would be a mixture of these. So as you can see, after the adaptation, using just fat stores would cause RER values to drop. Moreover, another adaptation that will occur due to the aerobic system will be our bodies will produce less lactic acid. This would mean that a person would be able to perform better aerobically, as they have less of this waste product, and would prevent injury, aches and pains in muscles, allowing maximum performance. As well as this, another adaptation would be the body getting better at buffering and delaying this lactic acid from being produced in mass amounts. This would mean that sports or event performers would be able to perform better aerobically. In terms of a marathon runner, these lactate adaptations would mean that they would be more able to complete their race in a faster time, as they would not have to deal with these aches and pains in muscles, and therefore could sustain a faster speed throughout the entirety of the race. Also, in terms of a footballer, this for them would mean they can maintain a high intensity throughout the duration of the game and still work intensely at the end, which would massively improve their game as well as decrease the risk of injury. Onset of blood lactate accumulation graph, energy system adaptations. The graph above shows the onset of blood lactate accumulation before and after the adaptations previously discussed have taken place. As you can see, the line for after adaptation starts at a lower level of blood lactate, as you can see here. This is due to the adaptations earlier discussed, where the body will produce less lactic acid due to aerobic training. This would firstly explain why the line for after the adaptations begins at a lower reading. In addition, the graph clearly shows a severe shift to the right of this lactate threshold on the line after adaptations. As you can see, after these adaptations have taken place here, lactate threshold is around the 17 mark, whereas here is the 11.8 mark, showing a severe change and shift to the right. This is due to the fact that, as an adaptation of aerobic training, the body will become better at buffering and delaying this lactate buildup, which therefore causes the threshold and dramatic increase to shift to the right as a result of this. In addition, it is also evident from the graph above that overall, even after this lactate threshold has been reached, the levels of blood lactate are still lower when at their peak in comparison to the line before the adaptations have occurred. You can see this here when the red before adaptations has reached the number 10 millimoles of blood lactate, whereas after adaptations we can see it only reaches around the 7 mark. This is due to the fact that after these adaptations have taken place, the body will produce less lactic acid, and therefore is the reason for the peak after the adaptations only reaching 7 millimoles as opposed to before these adaptations where it reached 10. The graph above is evidence for these adaptations that take place and the extent that they will take place in order to improve a person's sport or event performance. All these adaptations will help allow a person to work better aerobically and therefore would massively benefit performers such as marathon runners, footballers, or many other sport and event performers.